What up, though, people? Thank you for pushing play on the Lions War vlog. We are on the first book of Adam and Eve, chapter 68. We're almost done with this first book. Second book it's not that long of a read. So we're gonna, once we finish the second book, then we're gonna go back up to Genesis chapter 6. All right, because that's the timeline. Okay, we came down here right at the curses. And the exit from the garden is when we came to the books of Adam and Eve. Then we're going back up to chapter 6 of Genesis is where we're going to pick up. After we finish these two books, we're going to jump into chapter 68 right here. First book of Adam and Eve. Let's do it. Then the Most High, Yahweh, God, looked upon Adam and Eve and upon what had come upon them from Satan and how he had made them perish. God, therefore, sent his word and raised up Adam and Eve from their states of death. So they were in a deathly state, okay? Now, this could be layered. This chapter right here, if you wanted to apply a spiritual filter, you could, because this is deep right here. So let's pay close attention to this chapter. God, therefore, we're going to read this second verse one more time, and we're going to go ahead and fly through it. God, therefore, said, not disrespectfully, but yeah, we're going to get through this because I like this chapter. God, therefore, sent his word and raised up Adam and Eve from their states of death. Then, because that's what happens when that dark one, devil, Lucifer, Satan, El Shaitan, yeah, that's what he do. He puts you in a state of death. Death away from the light, death away from the higher spirit, death away from your peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, mercy, faithfulness, love, self-control, giving, the fruits of the spirit. Yeah, that's death. That's a form of death. Death don't only mean physical. It could be death of finances, death of a relationship, death of your forward motion towards a dream, death of your joy. A lot of different deaths can happen. Let's keep pushing. Okay, but that's what you get when you deal with Satan. You get put into a state of death. Then Adam, when he was raised, said, "O God, thou hast burnt and taken from us the corn thou hast given us, and thou hast emptied out the bucket of water. And thou hast sent thy angels who have waylaid us from the cornfield. Will thou make us perish? If this be from you, O God, then take away our souls, but punish us not." There is something very clear staring us in the face right here that I talked about in the previous video. Was it literal that they went and literally put fire to the bushels of wheat and knocked over the water? Or was it an elemental thing? Like, was it because of that part of the elements is just negative and it's doing things that's causing a problem, and the other side of the elements is positive and is pushing things forward and is doing things that's going to help, right? So what if it was spontaneous combustion that started the fire, and once the fire happened, it knocked the water off because of the force from the fire, elementally, right? Because they're blaming and saying that, hey, Most High, there was fire and the water was gone. The water was dumped out. Now, they were asleep when this happened. So was this even dealing with anything physical? Was it a spiritual thing? And the fact that maybe they were in a dream state, I don't know. But then when we read this, he's taking a position of, yo, Most High, you burnt this food and knocked our water over that you gave us. What was that all about? Because remember, they still don't know what's going on yet, right? He's like, then your angels came and led us astray. Like, so that's very telling, because if it was literally Lucifer and his host, I believe they would have saw that at some point, even when they woke up. Like or maybe they just didn't know, so they didn't see it. It was under cover of darkness. But we know something happened. That's like what I said in the previous video. But I find it very interesting here that they're not saying, they don't know what happened yet. So let's just keep reading. We just talked in a circle right there and figured out they don't know what happened yet. So they woke up to this stuff being there. So we still can't even say if Lucifer and this minion showed up physically spiritually or part of the elements or however, right? Let's just keep going. Then the Most High said to Adam, I did not burn down the wheat. Here we go. I did not burn down the wheat, and I did not pour the water out of the buckets, and I did not send my angels to lead thee astray. Why would I lead you astray? I told you what to do. I said this in the previous video. He had already told him what to do. He already told him what to do. It's crazy. But it is Satan. It is El Shaitan, that dark one, that Lucifer, the devil, thy master who hid it, the liar, the deceiver, that part of the elemental energy. Who did it? He to whom thou hast subjected thyself. Remember, you chose to make him your leader. My commandment being meanwhile set aside. In other words, I told you what to do and you ain't even listen, but you keep listening. You keep letting him trick you. You're too gullible, Adam and Eve. It was he who burnt down the corn and poured out the water and led thee astray. And all the promises he has made you verily are but feint and deceit and a lie. Okay, not feint, Faint, feint, like he's fiending. He's feigning it. It's not real. Okay. Like it's a ploy, it's a play to see if you're going to respond to it. But now, O Adam, thou shalt acknowledge my good deeds done to thee. And God told his angels to take, and you're about to see what I do for you, Adam, first man, since you keep having an issue. And God told his angels, told the higher ones to take Adam and Eve and bear them up to the field of wheat, which they found as before with the bucket full of water. There they saw a tree and found on it solid manna and wondered at God's power, at Yahweh's power. And the angels commanded them to eat of the manna when they were hungry. Side note, manna. That sounds interesting, don't it? Yeah, manna was the same thing that was in Exodus. Like, remember he sent them manna? But here's what you need to understand about manna. I've actually read a book about this, and this is outside of spiritual, but it's a nonfiction book. It's a reference book, and it's called Genius Intelligence, and it talks about like different things that you could do to perk the mind up and make it more sharp. Natural things that you could do, like things that are like supplements and things, and just things that are on the planet. Manna, in this book, there's a scientist that basically lets us know that manna is sulfur, but it's in crystalline form. If you know sulfur can be in a crystalline form. Okay, it's extremely salty. It's like rock salt. I've taken it raw before. Okay, and the manna, what this scientist said is the manna is like there's a supplement called MSM. Something. MSM is a long word. MSM is the short version of it. So this supplement is related to the manna. And basically, you know how they say like the manna, they took it, they would make cakes with it, but see, they didn't like the manna much because it was bitter. If you do your research, it says that about the manna. Well, that's because that's what it was. It was because they would find this manna crystalline, right? But it's a chemical that crystallizes, so they would have to gather it at certain points because that's when it was the thickest in the day, because it's there like dew or salt, or if you will. You understand? So the manna though, but that MSM is a very powerful supplement for helping the brain, and the sulfur itself is really good for the body. It fires off the things that make the body do what it's supposed to do. Hair growth, the brain, the joints. It's just good for the body in general. So the manna, and if you can research everything I'm saying, and you will find it. If you dig and you're diligent enough, you're going to find the information. That's what I'm saying right here. So this guy, he was a scientist, and he's like, look, I'm not trying to appropriate the Bible or anything like that, but he's like, look, the closest thing to this supplement MSM that you could take that will make your brain way more powerful and make your body and everything way more on point and adapt. He says it's the manna from the Bible. He says, in fact, manna from the Bible is this stuff. And he's like, if people knew how beneficial it actually is, then they would be taking it all the time. And he says that's why he says it's called the food of the angels. That's the nickname of it. And he says that that's why they would have been taking it, because it would have been beneficial for all of their systems and faculties and everything that they needed to push through. You know, it would have made them feel less hungry. It would have given them energy. It would have been beneficial across the board. So the manna, I know that was like a longer sort of a commentary there, but I just kind of had to say that because I've come across this information about the manna. Look that information up. If you read this or if you listen to this, please go research that information. And it's very interesting and it's very, very, very beautiful to learn about. Let me hurry up and finish and get through the rest of this. And God adjured Satan with a curse not to come again and destroy the field of corn. Then Adam and Eve took of the corn and made of it an offering, and took it and offered it up on the mountain, the place where they had offered their first offering of blood. Remember when they tried to jump down and harm themselves to try to get to show the Most High, like maybe if we punish ourselves and they spilled the blood of the Most High, it's like, look, the fact that y'all did this is why I'm going to then come and make a sacrifice. I'm going to come into your bloodline and I'll, since you could die, I'll die for you. And that's how we'll get you back rejuvenated, but you're not getting back now. I'm touched by what you did, but that's not going to be enough. You don't have it to be your own redemption. Okay. But anyway, let's keep pushing. So, and they offered this oblation or this offering again on the altar they had built at first, and they stood up and prayed and besought the Most High, saying, thus, O God, when we were in the garden, did our praises go up to you like this offering, and our innocence went up to you like incense. But now, Most High, accept this from us and turn us not back to be taken away from your mercy. It says reft of thy mercy, but that's what it means, to be away from your mercy, separated. Then the Most High said to Adam and Eve, since ye has made this offering, this oblation, and has offered it to me, I shall make it my flesh when I come down upon earth to save you, and I shall cause it to be offered continually upon an altar for forgiveness and for mercy unto those who partake of it duly. What I just said, right? If you right there, that's talking about the death of the Messiah. And then that's talking about the communion as being a sign and a ritual of understanding that that thing is what allow you human to get back to the higher state. Okay. So, and the Most High sent a bright fire upon the offering of Adam and Eve and filled it with brightness, grace, and light, and the Holy Ghost came down upon that oblation. Then God commanded an angel to take fire tongues like a spoon, and with it to take an offering and bring it to Adam and Eve. And the angel did so as God had commanded him and offered it to them. And the souls of Adam and Eve were brightened, and their hearts were filled with joy and gladness and with the praises of the Most High. So that's spiritual fire. Y'all understand that, okay? We're talking spiritual there. Metaphorically / spiritual, okay? Prophetic even. And the Most High said unto Adam, this shall be unto you accustomed to do so when affliction and sorrow come upon you, but your deliverance and your entrance into the garden shall not be until the days are fulfilled as agreed between you and me. Were it not so, I would of my mercy and pity for you bring you back to my garden and my favor for the sake of the offering you have just made to my name. In other words, we already said that how things is gonna go. I'm not going back against myself, but I see your offering. And the fact that you're trying to make an offering to me to prove to me that you're sorry, it shows me that you're trying to recalibrate and figure it out so we can still mess with your beinghood. We can mess with y'all a little bit longer, see what y'all got going on. We ain't got to fully separate you or destroy you. Even though they flood the earth, don't they let some of the humans get through to continue things? They sure do, right? Let's keep going. Adam rejoiced at these words which he had heard from Yahweh, God, the Most High, and he and Eve worshipped before the altar to which they bowed, and then went back to the cave of treasures, the cave that they're in. And this took place at the end of the 12th day, after the 18th day, from the time Adam and Eve came out of the garden. And I'm sorry, after the 80th day, not the 18th. I do apologize. I was about to be like, wait a minute, what? We just went way backwards. No, after the 80th day. This took place at the end of the 12th day, after the 80th day, from the time Adam and Eve came out of the garden. The 12th day after the 80th day would be 92. So maybe longer. I don't, that's interesting. Anyhow. And they stood up the whole night praying until morning, and then went out of the cave. Then Adam said to Eve with joy of heart, because of the offering they had made to Yahweh, and that had been accepted of him, let us do this 3 times every week. On the 4th day, Wednesday, they would not have known these days then. Let's just say for us, this is to help us understand around the time that they felt like they're like, hey, we're going to do it at this time, whatever, however they marked their time off. Because they definitely were not talking Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That only came around with the Romans. Like, that's not even let's just keep going. So, let us do this 3 times every week, on the 4th day, Wednesday, on the preparation day, Friday, and on the Sabbath, Sunday, all the rest of our lives. So again, that is just an indicator for us to help us understand at what point in the week that they were doing that back then. If they didn't even probably even know that it was a week back then. Who knows? But let's just keep going. How could they? They definitely wouldn't have been using the same words that we were using for our week here, because they wouldn't even been speaking English. You understand? So let's just keep going. And as they agreed to these words between themselves, God was pleased with their thoughts and the resolution each had taken with the other. And so he's surveying them. Okay. After this came the word of the Most High to Adam, and said, O Adam, thou hast determined beforehand the days in which sufferings shall come upon me when I am made flesh, for they are the 4th Wednesday and the preparation day, Friday. But as to the first day, I created in it all things, and I raised the heavens. And again, through my rising again on this day, will I create joy and raise them on high who believed in me. O Adam, offer this oblation, offer this offering all the days of thy life. Here, the days. Very interesting thing right here that I just kind of peeped, and I just want to say, when he's speaking on this day, he's like this day, this day, this day. He's speaking on an age, a timeline, a time frame, a season. You know how when in Genesis at the end of the creation it says, this is the account of the generation, this is the generations of the creation, or it'll say this is the creation and its generations in which it was made. So again, some of y'all get what I'm saying right here. I'm about to break it down just real fast, a little bit quick, a little bit more clear. So they say it was 7 days to create, but how is it saying in many translations, especially the ones that are not watered down, it says these are the generations of when the earth, when creation was made, the 7 days? Or was it 700 years? You understand what I'm saying? Was it 7 times, was it 70 years, 7 times 7 on the generation? Was it 490 years? You understand what I'm saying? So, because right here, he's speaking of a day, but he's not talking about a literal day. He's speaking on a time frame. So I just find that very interesting. You know, that's just kind of like a nice comparison to that Genesis thing when it talks about the generations. Was it 7 literal days like what America and, you know, the modern church at large has been teaching? literal, or because it says generations. And just like right here, what was revealed, he's speaking on a day, but he's not speaking on a specific day. He's speaking on a specific time that has days in it. All right. Okay, so then Yahweh withdrew his word from Adam. Then God withdrew his word from Adam. This is the final verse. But Adam continued to offer this oblation thus every week 3 times until the end of 7 weeks. And on the first day, which is the 50th, Adam made an offering as he was wont, or, he made the offering that the opposite of not doing it. He did it. And he and Eve took it and came to the altar before Yahweh as he had taught them. Okay, so right here it says on the first day, which is the 50th. So right now they're moving forward. Their time is like, up here it was counted, oh man, we're 12 days from the 80th. Now it's talking about weeks. Now it's talking about 7 weeks. Now it's talking about like, hey, this day is the 50th from this time. So now it's like, they're moving forward now. Okay. All right. So that's the end of this chapter. That's it right there. I like this chapter here because when you really deal with this chapter here, it could be very layered. And you could be, and this chapter shows you that you could be dealing with looking at things and they could be communicating to you, but it could mean something else. And you have to really have the understanding to see that. And then in other times, things can be very literal. And you just have to have the understanding to see that. And per what I believe, if you can't figure it out, the anointing will show you, just as 1 John says. I'm pretty sure that's 1 John that says that. The anointing will teach you when, if you're at a time where you can't figure out what you need and the teachers are not necessarily checking all the squares and you're confused and that there's some weird stuff going on. You got your eyes on the scriptures yourself. You got your hand in the hand of Yahweh. You walking and knowing that some stuff is wrong. The anointing will show you better than anybody can or anybody will, period. So if you can't figure it out, then petition to the Most High. And if you are in that number, if you are of the higher ones, of the chosen ones, if you are, then you will have the clarification that you see. Guaranteed you will. Guaranteed you will. Sometimes it might be right there on the moment. Sometimes it might be a few days, a few weeks. There's been times I've read things and have asked the Most High about it, and he did not give me an answer. 2-3 weeks later, I'm driving along, and all of a sudden he tells me what a certain thing meant, and I had to pull over and stop because I was so overwhelmed I couldn't even focus on driving because it hit me like, this is what it was, son. To answer your question, you're ready now. Okay, so y'all be blessed. Thank you for pushing play on the Lions Word vlog. If this information resonated with you, you probably know somebody that it would resonate with. Send it to them, please. Like, send it to someone. You probably could help somebody gain some clarity of the scriptures. If you know someone who maybe they want to know God, they want to know the scriptures, but maybe they don't trust everything, they don't understand everything. Maybe the angles are just kind of rigid, and they would appreciate someone who, like myself, who approaches these things with an open mind. Not so much an open mind to be taken off of the doctrine and what I believe in the scriptures, but with an open mind of this is like, for instance, to deal with the fact that Yahweh's name is not God. Yahweh's name is not Lord. Okay? Elohim's their name ain't God. God and Lord was a label that the English used for themselves as men before they ever got their hands on the scriptures to translate them and then have to change the name of Yahweh or the Most High God or Elohim to God, Lord, words that they was using for themselves because they dismissively wanted to plug in their own ideology and culture and their own system over what the spirit had going on, because why would they have been sensitive to the spirit? They weren't spiritual beings like that, or they weren't doing what they were doing to gain access to the higher spirit. It's political power plays at that point when you do that and you go in and ignorantly change a name to something because you just feel like, oh, well, this is the closest thing we have in our culture because we want our culture even to be higher than God at that point, because you're not even respecting the names, but his people respect the name, and you come along and change it. And then you come along and change the image later. Like, anyway, I'm done. Thank you for pushing play. Y'all be blessed. Peace.